All right, good afternoon to this LogicLounge. So LogicLounge is a format, a discussion format that was introduced during the legendary Summer of Logic in 2014. It was invented by Helmut Veit and Oliver Lehmann. And I think Georg Gottlob also took part in one of the first Logic Lounges, Café Museum in Karlsplatz, so not far from here. And with the Vienna Center for Logic and Algorithms, we are continuing this tradition and have every year this one Logic Lounge. And today I'm particularly happy to have the Logic Lounge with our dear Gottlob. So I think I don't need to introduce Georg, and I guess one could spend an hour introducing you. But I think something that's very remarkable about Georg is that he made top academic careers in at least 3 countries. So here in Vienna, he was professor at the Wien. He was very successful. He got the Wittgenstein Award. It's the highest award Austrian science you can get in Austrian science. Then he moved to Oxford, some of the top university in the world, and there he was also a very successful professor. Got things like the Lovelace Medal and Fellow of the Royal Society and all these things. But then you would think now he retires. No, he goes to Italy, to the University of Calabria, where he's now a celebrated professor and is invited to primetime television in Italy, where he speaks fluently Italian, so he discusses newest AI things and so at primetime in Italy. So it's quite a remarkable career, and even more I'm happy that he is now back home, so to speak, and today it will be not a like scientific talk, but more conversation, and I'm also very happy that Sarah Krische from One is also again moderating this LogicLounge discussion. And the topic today is, I think, artificial intelligence and artificial ignorance. And I'm quite curious what this exactly is. And I hand over to Sarah.
Thank you very much. So you mentioned Wittgenstein, the Wittgenstein Award, but that has nothing to do. But Wittgenstein used to be in this cafe. I don't know if you know it. You know it. He used to have the table next to the bar. Yeah, left to the bar was a table where Wittgenstein usually sat in the cafe. So
I will never leave.
So just by coincidence. So, would you like me to start saying something about the title? Because
yeah, I just wanted to say, since Stefan mentioned the title already, I was like, okay, now I can't mention the title. I love it so much.
Yeah.
But
so I explain why I chose this title. So AI has made huge, really great progress in the last years. In the last decade, I would say, or even more, 12 years, 15 years. And most of the progress that we see is machine learning. Machine learning is a very important thing. It's really great. Yeah, and it is, machine learning can bring you a lot of things. And how can we characterize it? It's mostly learning by neural networks. And it's to what does it correspond in human beings, machine learning? So on one thing, in one sense, I would say it corresponds to what we do more, not exactly, because this is not exact, with the right part of the brain. Yeah. So the right part of the brain, fast thinking also, if you want, yeah, is the part that quickly recognizes something. Yeah. And that's what machine learning can really, really do well. It's all about recognition, actually. Yeah. Let's say, I don't speak yet about large language models. Let's say that machine learning that has evolved in the last 15 years, especially if you look at cameras, face recognition, autonomous driving, all these things, yeah, are about recognition. You have to recognize a situation, you have to recognize a face, you have to recognize a bill, whatever. You have to recognize text. LLMs have developed out of this, and it's also about recognition, but a little bit different. Okay, but it's also closely related, but not exactly related. So we can talk about this a little bit later. I will talk about this a little bit later. But the main aim of machine learning is to recognize. So the main applications that we see is recognizing, and that's what neural networks can do really, really well. Okay, neural networks can be used for recognition. And now you will tell me, okay, but they can also play chess. But chess is also about recognition, because a chess player has to study a lot of games. Yeah, and why do chess players study a lot of games? Because they want to learn to quickly classify a configuration of the chessboard, whether the next move that they have in mind could be a winning or a losing move. This is also a recognition, and they don't have the time to play and say, okay, what will happen in 6 moves or so. So they need this they also do it, what will happen in the next few moves. Yeah, this forward playing, yeah, in mental forward playing the game, but they cannot do so many moves because it's exponential. So what we have seen is that the good chess players are chess players who study. They take 6 hours a day to study and just play games that other people have played and try to understand, and to see. And that's exactly the moment where machine learning came in. There were a lot of chess programs, they were not good. Machine learning came in, or they were not enough good for me probably, yeah, because I'm not a good chess player, but yeah, I mean, I've done exercise, etc. But the pre-existing chess programs were not as good as the chess masters, okay, the champions. So suddenly machine learning made it happen. Yeah, that they are better now than humans. And why? Because machine learning it's again about recognition. I recognize this configuration of the chessboard is a good one, because I have seen millions. This program has seen millions and millions, billions actually. Yeah, almost. Probably billions of games. So they are better classifiers now than humans. They can classify it. And this is where why AI is so useful in medicine, yeah, in diagnosis, in medical diagnosis, because a machine can see 5 million of X-ray pictures or MRT pictures, etc. A doctor can see in his life or her life only maximum 200,000. If you think about how many days a week do you work and how many, 5 days maybe, and if every day you see 20, yeah, you cannot see more than 20 patients a day, yeah, and so the machine can do that better because it can play more games and learn from more games than a human, and it can see more X-rays. How you put it, pictures, whatever, yeah. Many more, okay? 5 millions versus 200,000, 10 millions, 20 millions, okay? It's probably we don't have enough data because you have to get this data, and there are a lot of problems to put this data together. But what is this? This machine learning, the mechanism is the same as the mechanism of a baby recognizing its mother, yeah? The baby recognizes its mother, and nobody tells the baby, look, your mother has glasses, your mother has blonde hair, etc. Yeah, nobody gives a description of your mother. Yeah, you do that immediately and autonomously. That's just like machine learning. So machine learning is what babies can do well, but also if we learn to ride a bicycle, for instance. Yeah, if we learn to ride a bicycle, it's probably better to try by trial and error. Yeah, and explore how it works. Okay, reinforcement learning, yeah, that's the keyword here. You just do it, and if it goes bad, backward propagation, something bad, you adapt the network, but you don't do it consciously in the sense that you say, somebody explains, yeah, if the bike tends to fall to the left, then you should go to the right, or so you learn it by yourself. Yeah, maybe even if people tell you that wouldn't suffice. So you need some yeah, neural network that does it basically for you. And you have this neural network. It's usually, if you are right-handed, it's in the right part of the brain. If you're left-handed, it's in the left part. Now, this is what I say, the lateralization thesis, that the brain is like that. It's much more complicated, but there is a lot to it. Yeah, that some, but there's also a lot of interaction between the right and the left part. Yeah, and there are also things that are in the frontal cortex and that cannot be exactly assigned to the left or to the right. Okay, so it's not completely like that. But how can I be so sure that it is like that? Because I went in Vienna to the university ball. That's, if you have a scientific question, that's a great place to go, because then from each discipline, there's a table or two tables for each discipline. So I went to the neuroscientists and I could broadcast this question to two tables, and they say, yeah, there is something about it. You do it. Yeah, that's more or less correct, but it's not completely correct. Yeah, we don't understand it really, but there is definitely something between this left and right in this lateralization thesis. Yeah. So if you have any question in the future, go to the university board, because you will find all experts around the table, and for free you can get your answer. Okay. So this is that's why machine learning is really fantastic in medical diagnosis. Of course, we still need doctor, but it can point certain things. It can point the doctor to things that he or she would otherwise not have seen. Okay, with a high probability, and that's why medics love artificial intelligence. This type of artificial intelligence, machine learning. Yeah, and there are so many other applications. And in autonomous driving, probably we will need a little bit more of symbolic AI with autonomous driving, possibly, but it will mostly be based on machine learning also. Okay? Why? Because it's vision, it's recognition. So what machine learning can do really well is recognition. But machine learning can make a lot of errors, because it doesn't have a representation of the world. And so, for instance, if you have a picture, so a Chinese millionaire or billionaire, I don't know, was fined because of jaywalking, because she was the red light and she crossed the street like that, okay? And actually it was not her, it was her picture on a bus, and the bus was almost a green light, So, you see, now the recognition worked perfectly, but understanding how, all the whereabouts and why it was not jaywalking, actually, the system couldn't do that, and it's very difficult, actually, because it's also difficult to do that symbolically, because you would have to give a symbolic description of the entire world, and so it's not so easy, but we have some description in LLMs, maybe, so maybe LLMs can help us, again, for symbolic AI. But let me speak about symbolic AI now. So this is sub-symbolic AI, because we don't use symbols in machine learning. The neurons are doing it. The perceptrons or neurons, or how you call them, are doing it by themselves, just like a baby. Has this mechanism, this fantastic mechanism, a great mechanism, and this mechanism has been improved so much. I mean, it was invented. People experimented with such things from 1947 on. With electrical circuits first, and then with transistors, and then so many new things came in that contributed. And now we have the technology to make it really work. Before that, we didn't have the technology, because we couldn't process massively this data that needs massive data processing, of course. But it's, again, a very interesting thing. So I call it fast thinking. Like we know the book Fast and Slow Thinking, but slow and fast thinking, I think, or fast and slow thinking, but it's also really fast, because once a neural network is trained, the training phase is not that fast, but once a neural network is trained, the neural network doesn't have that many layers. Maybe it has a deep network, has 50, 70, 150 layers maximum, that currently, I mean, you can have more layers, but they don't need more layers for these tasks, And then these layers, the neurons can work in parallel, in parallel. It's a kind of parallel processing, layer by layer, and so we have, and processing one layer doesn't cost dramatic time, and you could do it actually in parallel, So that's why it's fast, And reasoning is less, is NP hard, as we know, yeah. So even proposition is the simplest form of reasoning. So what are the problems here? So on the other hand, we have symbolic AI, yeah, and we have seen that sub-symbolic AI, machine learning, doesn't work. In many cases, it doesn't work. So I have given you one example. I want to give you two more examples where I show that it doesn't work. Okay, so that's artificial ignorance in a certain sense. So these machines ignore the context and ignore certain rules of life. Yeah, and it's difficult to give these rules because we need a language, etc. But let me give you a few examples. A couple of examples maybe. So something that happened to myself, really very funny, yeah, funny and sad in a certain sense, yeah. So I bought a house in Oxford with my wife. We bought a house in Oxford, and a new house. Before buying the house, we visited the house, of course, to see it. And there was a tenant of the former owner in it. The tenant of the owner, previous owner, was in the house. And so that was a sunny boy. He was a very, very kind gentleman, yeah, but already too much a sunny boy. So there's a strange guy, but very, very kind and very friendly, yeah. When we moved into the house, I noticed that this guy didn't pay his debts, yeah, because we got a lot of letters, and unfortunately, sometimes I opened the letter, I thought it was for me, it was for him. Oh, you owe us £1,000, and the other one. Every day I got letters, people were knocking at the door, where is this guy, he owes me money, etc. So this was a very strange guy. Then I applied for a new credit card, and suddenly my credit limit was only 500, yeah, pounds. So what happens? The ghost of this person, yeah, was still in this house in form of some electronic data in some database probably, yeah. So there is a credit rating. So they did automatic credit rating. So I called the bank actually, yeah, for this credit card. They said, why 500? What can I do with 500? That's not good for a credit card. If I go for vacations on the second day, yeah, they already spent more than 500. So it's not possible, yeah. So they say, oh, it's not us, it's a credit rating agency. So I called the agency, and the agency said, we use the best form of machine learning, the most modern machine learning. Yeah? They say, I'm not happy with this answer. Can you tell me a little bit which variable, yeah, is responsible for this? Yeah? And they say, oh, yeah, that's difficult. But after 14 days, they told me, it's probably where you live. And then, of course, I knew immediately what it was. Yeah? Basically, the neural network has learned which is correct, statistically correct, I have to say, completely correct. The neural network has learned that if you live together with somebody who doesn't pay their debts, then also you are unlikely to pay your debts, okay? Which is correct, because statistically, yeah, you can say if you live together with a criminal, then you are a little bit more, yeah, but of course it's completely unethical, that's the first thing. That's the first thing, it's unethical. Secondly, so why live together? Because there was an error in the database. Yeah? Because this is clear, they have a database. This guy, in the UK, you don't have a Meldeamt where you go and say, oh, I'm here now, I leave, you have to upmelden, unmelden. Yeah, that doesn't exist. Yeah? So you just go. This guy left the country, and by the way, he went to Iceland, and he was then involved. Years later, I read his name in the newspaper that he was involved in a major financial scandal in Iceland. Yeah, but he left, and his name was still in the database, and my name was in this database at the same address. Yeah, and so the program has correctly learned this unethical clause and has applied it. Okay, but also what the program didn't, and the real point of ignorance, however, is here. Even if I had, so the real point of ignorance is that the program didn't notice a new owner bought this house, and if a new owner, that this is a rule of thumb, if a new owner buys a one-family house, and if his or her family move into the house, yeah, then it's 99.9% the previous tenant has moved out. Yeah, for us, this is okay. Yeah, but the program didn't know this. And this is a lack of knowledge that the program has. Okay, this is a lack of knowledge. So this is one example. And the similar example is that for Apple Pay, there was a couple in the United States, in New York, I think, and they had joint property. All their property was joined in both names, and they had the same salary, and the wife was still got 5 times less credit limit. Okay, so that's really sad, because the program had learned that women earn less, generally, or maybe should earn less or earn less. I don't know what. So, but here is another problem of machine learning. This is a really important problem. Machine learning is learning from the from the current state. Okay, from the status quo. It's learning, and currently women still earn less. It's getting a little bit better. Or have other problems, are discriminated in other form. And all these discriminations, not only women, then other categories are discriminated. And all these discriminations are learned, because machine learning learns from the current state. And it cannot reason. So, so this is really a problem, I would say. And therefore, people thought that, well, we should also use the other part of the brain, let's say, The other part of the brain, symbolic AI, corresponds more to symbolic AI, and so that what is this? Means that we can conceptualize facts, and we can look at things. We recognize. We say this is a book, and the book is this and that and that. And then we reason about things. Okay, and then we can have rules. We make rules. We make laws. A law is, for instance, a rule. And the left part of the brain has also, so let's say, symbolic AI has also another advantage. The advantage is that we can transfer this knowledge. So do you want to learn on your, every individual should learn by itself that certain foods or berries are poisonous? No, we don't want to learn it. It's good that our granny or our parents tell it to us. Okay, so this is a fantastic thing about symbolic AI, or about symbolic knowledge representation and symbolic reasoning, that you can take a piece of knowledge, and that you can even take rules and give these rules to other people. Okay, other people can say, okay, that's a good rule, I will adopt it or not. Children will just adopt it, what you say. Okay, but this is why this is a huge advantage that evolution has created. So evolution has created symbolic reasoning. Because we have our language, and we reason also with language, and you can tell at a certain age a kid will be able to understand it, and then also to draw conclusions automatically by itself, I should say. Okay, so this is the other part of symbolic reasoning. So, and you asked me in your question, why hasn't there been so much visible success now in symbolic reasoning, and instead in the other part? And I can have different answers for it, to this. So one answer would be, well, symbolic reasoning is simply more difficult. A neural network is relatively easy. I mean, there have been fantastic discoveries now in the last years, to make it faster, to make it work. Okay, this is technology that has been improved, but the basic ideas are still the same. And they have, are new ideas about transformer architectures, so new architectures, attention mechanism, etc. So these are all ingredients that led to really well and fast working neural networks. But the principle that now yesterday, maybe some of you have heard, there's also liquid neural networks, etc. So there are many interesting things that are going on, but the basic idea is still there. And the principle is not so difficult. The algorithms, once you have these ideas, are not so difficult. The algorithms of doing, sometimes we have slightly more difficult algorithms that require a liquid neuron, for instance, to solve basically a differential equation. Okay, fine, but it's also not that difficult. On the other hand, symbolic logic, as you know, is undecidable by itself, as you have heard probably. So we start already with a very difficult problem, and then we have to find good logics that are expressive, and that are enough expressive, but that are still feasible, where it is feasible to do, computationally feasible to reason with. Okay, so this is a big problem, and it is, in my opinion, a more difficult problem, because people have proposed a lot of logics. Yeah, classical logic seems to be not ideally suited for AI reasoning. Okay, so people have invented non-monotonic logic, for instance. Yeah? So what is non-monotonic logic? Non-monotonic logic is a logic. So in classical logic, if you have a theory, yeah, and you add things to the theory, you can always prove more. Yeah, you can always prove more. You have fewer possible models. Yeah, models are possible situations in which the theory is true. But if you have fewer models, then more things will be true. Yeah, because simply each model is if something has to be true in many models, it has to be true in fewer models. Okay, so if you add, so that's classical logic. Classical logic has this monotonicity. The more you add, the more you can prove. Okay, and that's not generally not true. So if I have parked my car somewhere here, okay, I have currently in my model, in my worldview, basically, not in my models, I don't have so many models that I consider at once, but my worldview is that currently my car will be there, okay? And when I come there, yeah, when I arrive there, and I see my car is no longer there, okay? In classical logic, that would be a contradiction. Yeah, the car is there, the car is not there, yeah? I cannot put this additional knowledge immediately together with the existing knowledge, and so it's a contradiction. Yeah, and so we need logics that can accommodate this. Yeah, and so this was the beginning of non-monotonic logics, for instance. Yeah, and we did a lot of research on non-monotonic logics, and on the complexity. Unfortunately, it turned out that they are reasoning with non-monotonic logics like default logic and circumscription. McCarthy's, who has invented artificial intelligence, has already invented types of non-monotonic circumscription. Yeah, it's a form of reasoning that would allow what I just said. Yeah, and theory updates. Theory revision, theory updates. How can I revise a theory, etc. Yeah, all these methods are unfortunately even harder computationally, one level harder. They are not NP complete or NP hard or co-NP complete in reasoning. Yeah, so let's say NP hard, they are sigma P2 hard. Yeah, which is, I don't know if you have ever heard that, but it's just one level more difficult to do it computationally. Okay, and so this is a big dilemma, and that's why there is still a lot of work. But I can say definitely. Symbolic AI has made a huge progress also, yeah? But we are not there. It's a longer program. You think about how long it took scientists and mathematicians to discover differential calculus, 2,000 years or so. Yeah. So it's not. Yeah. It's not that every science is as fast as. Yeah. You cannot make these jumps forward so fast as you want. But we believe that, or many of us believe that symbolic AI will be necessary to go to the next level, yeah, and to combine it with machine learning. There are, of course, many limited attempts to do so, but we still don't have the really good formalism that is necessary, that is for symbolic AI. What we have is, however, we have faster reasoning methods. So, as you may have heard, the standard problem, yeah, which is NP hard, is satisfiability. I have a logical formula, okay, and I want to check whether this formula is satisfiable, okay. Satisfiable means whether there is one possibility to assign true or false to the truth values, so that this formula, the entire formula with ands and ors and implications and whatever, becomes true. And here we have made huge progress already. So now we have systems that can very quickly satisfy, check whether a formula is satisfiable or not, and also constructively find a satisfiable assignment. Yeah, there is a lot of progress, and this progress is very important, because once we have this, we improve this, then we will also be able to reason faster, and we can add such fast reasoning to neural networks to obtain something, but we also need to look a little bit about the logics. Yeah, default logic. The logic must be more flexible in a certain sense. Yeah, it must be react to updates. Yeah, updates of the situation. Yeah, so we are continuously we are reacting to updates. Yeah, we go to a room. So but by the way, there's a different thing, update and revision. Update is I learn something new, and revision means I learn something that I learned is no longer true, is false, or was false already, or has become recently false, and I now replace this false thing. Yeah, and then I have a huge theory about the world. So how should I change all this huge theory? By changing a little bit thing that is inconsistent with it. Yeah, that's an interesting question, and that has been studied. There are several methods, but we don't yet. We still haven't had. There's still a lot to do with this. Okay, but I think, and now should I stop here, or should we? But
Oh my God. I'm so powerful right now. I have to enjoy this moment. Thank you.
okay, so
And I will make a quick stop and look into the audience if there is a question you already have where you are like, I would love to interrupt here for my question.
So it was completely clear.
It was completely clear that up here. Let's go on. I have one question though.
Yeah.
How's life in Italy?
That's good.
So your credit card works? Your
My
house
great
is fine? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, please. Can you speak very loud, or you?
Or I can bring you the microphone. Hang on.
Let's get a leading in. Yeah, I.
So before this is sure.
Thank you very much for your talk. I was also present yesterday, so enjoyed your talk. Maybe it comes later in your, so I would just ask it. While you were explaining about giving reasoning to AI, and the question always came to my mind: who gives this reasoning? If this reasoning is biased, how do we deal with that situation where just somebody, I don't know.
Yes, this is of course a very, very good question. Yeah, but what we would think is that, but this bias is also machine learning, as we have seen. So bias is everywhere. We have to recognize it. But I think personally that this reasoning can help us to detect bias and to avoid bias also, because we could, if we have, for instance, ethical rules. Now there are people who are building ethical large ethics models, for instance. Yeah, so there's not large language models, but large ethics models. So they are grouping together ethical principles, for instance. Yeah, this is only about ethics, but there are so many other fields where you can apply that. There are fields where you can already represent knowledge by rules. Yeah, like similar to Prolog rules in some programming language. Yesterday also the speaker mentioned that Prolog was again used. Yeah, if then else rules or Prolog rules. Now it's completely clear that these rules could be intentionally made biased because you can let's say an authoritarian state could give other rules, but that's what they already do now. Yeah, now we have rules. So I think it's not the technological problem. This is really a problem of how you apply these rules, and who decides which rules should be used. That's of course very, very, very important. But that's the same as with laws. Yeah, laws and regulations. Yeah, maybe now in some countries you have a regulation that you cannot criticize the country because this. Yeah, it's a regulation that is very flexible. That says, in England you cannot offend the Queen, for instance. Yeah, so I think. Personally, I think that's not a fair rule, but okay, it's fine. Yeah, the Queen is now we have a king, so but that's a very difficult philosophical question and legal question. But we have to. The same thing happens with law. Yeah, so we have to be very careful. We as scientists have to be careful, or as computer scientists have to be careful how our stuff is used, of course. Yeah, but I think there must be a consensus of which rules can be implemented with which not. Yeah, and if you this has to do very much with the legal system and with legal norms and ethical norms in a country, and so there will be an entire infrastructure of people who deal with this. Yeah, just like lawyers, just like just like in the parliament you have people who deal only maybe with laws. Yeah. All the time, yes. The laws have been prepared by experts, by lawyers, expert lawyers, and of parties, political parties or whatever. And a similar mechanism will, have to be done with things that you implement in a computer. Yeah, but for the moment I'm speaking, I would already be happy if we had very good formalism and very good methods for expressing simple laws that nobody is bothered with, whose ethics is not questionable. Let's say. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
So, following this idea in the democracy system, then you could have a forced separation of power
Yes.
with the digital power, kind of.
Well, I mean, now we have three separations. Yeah, it's not clear because maybe you just do the same thing as we currently. Yeah, so the legislative power, that could be, yeah, which rules are declared as good or not could be again with the legislative power, or you have another power maybe. Yeah, but it's not clear to me. We can discuss it, but I'm not really an expert on this. So, but it's an interesting point. Do we need another power here? Yeah, or can we use legislative and executive as they are? Yeah. Please, I knew that you had some idea.
Because you just brought up this example with the law in the United Kingdom and the prohibition of insulting the Queen in all kinds of different forms. I thought this is an interesting problem because, of course, the law exists, but it is not executed. But it's sometimes executed. Sometimes pieces in American TV shows are excluded if the Queen is actually insulted, but usually it is not. How do you represent such a foggy, literally foggy law in something like logic? Is this representable? Is this at all representable?
Yeah, that's a good question, but what I think is that we have here two levels. Yeah, so here at the legislation, yeah, at the legislative level, this law will be crisp, it will be represented, and then the executive power, the executive, yeah, has the power to say we use it here or we don't use it. Yeah, so that's different. It's how the law is used, but the law itself will be very nicely represented, and how it is used will be some some fuzzy logic or something like that. Yeah, that will be used. Yeah, in the real execution of the law. So the law is sometimes blocked from being executed. Yeah, but the law is still there. Yeah, so that's at a different level that you have to add something around it. Yeah, a wrapper that says, okay, but here we don't want to be. Yeah, this was not too terrible or so. Yeah, and didn't damage the Queen really. So let's forget about this. Yeah, so this is. Every cop, every policeman has a little bit of discretional power on saying, well, I won't do anything. If you go too fast, he can tell you, please next time I will punish you. But you can, it's definitely possible to do such a thing, yeah. But probably this is not formalized here, yeah. So we can formalize it with probably fuzzy logic, or we can say, let's put every crisp law into a wrapper, yeah, into a framework, and where the framework decides whether to apply it or not. Okay, so there's something around the law, and this framework says, well, we have a neural network, for instance, that checks whether this case is really grave or whether it's okay, something which is still okay, and that can be learned from behavior of policemen, for instance, or so, yeah. Police bursts. Could that be? I mean, that's how I imagine that we do it. The law is there, it's not differently represented, and then we look at the context of this law, where it has to be or not to be applied. Theoretically, it has to be applied everywhere, but there is some discretion that policemen have. There's a super law that says police persons, yeah, can sometimes not execute a law because it is not really grave, and then it's really subject to the personal decision, and we replace this by a neural net. That would be my solution to it. Okay, but I don't know if that's the right thing. But That's how I could imagine such a thing. Okay, because we cannot now it has to be automated, no? Yes.
But this system remains rigid because somebody has to set the rules and say, oh, this rule may be transgressed
Yeah.
sometimes,
So
this
it's
one may not.
it's not rigid because the neural network will do that. The neural network is, you will input the entire situation, yeah, photo or whatever, I mean, language, okay? And then the neural network will decide it. It is theoretically rigid because the network is also rigid, but in practice it's not rigid because in practice you will never have the same situation. So and it could be that in the same situation, after a while, this decision is again different. Yeah, because the network has learned something.
Would be a bypass neural network
Yeah.
that would apply on every law.
One has to decide whether such a thing, yeah, and normally you can, actually I think there are some criteria, okay, you can say a law which is, if this law is, how to say, if you don't obey the law, disobedience, yeah, leads to more than a fee of, I don't know, €1,000, yeah, is no longer discretional, something like that. That will be again a rigid law. So you say, we are just implementing here some system.
Right, I would
It's
have
getting
a
more
follow-up
complex,
question
yeah.
because I'm interested in your thoughts that, and no, please put that microphone away from me. It doesn't work. We are not friends anymore. But in the US, there is a company that sells you an AI lawyer.
Yeah.
Like, they just fed it with, I don't know, US laws, and they said, poor people can have a cheaper lawyer representing them in court, but it's an AI, but it will do its job. So since the USA are very, suing each other, and you get out of prison by, by paying basically, it works somehow. I asked them to give me an interview because I really wanted to know more about it, but they played dead. Yeah. They were like, yeah, we want poorer people to pay this cheaper AI lawyer, but we don't want journalists to ask too many questions because we hate you, basically. And, they get their audience anyways. They don't need media attention. And I learned they don't want media attention. But what are your thoughts on these, I don't even know what to call it, because it's not a scam, but it's also not very ethical. But we will see this emerging, like, what we had with crypto before. Hey, here's an AI for that, and deal with the rest. We didn't promise you it works. And is this some misuse that will also bring, the negative attention that will also not be helpful for the real research and for the, good things that you can achieve?
Yeah, I think this. I always think in these cases, that's my personal opinion, AI can help a lot because it can find good cases, precedents cases, etc. Yeah, especially with case law in the States and so on. Yeah, but it can also do very wrong things, like what was a big scandal that a year ago approximately. Yeah, a lawyer used an LLM and it produced 5 wrong cases. Yeah, in the defense. And these cases were put in front of the judge, and the judge was very clever and noticed these cases. Probably my guess is, maybe I said that yesterday, I said that yesterday already, yeah. So my guess is that the language he recognizes, yeah, he probably didn't check these cases really well at the beginning, and then he recognized, how this is written, this doesn't seem to be a lawyer, yeah. Because we can still recognize, I recognize when a student gives me a text that was taken from LM, and I say, you can write your text, but please don't write such strange things, yeah, etc. Yeah, so it's still recognizable, and so, yeah, that I said that yesterday in my talk, that gave this example. So I think there need to be a double check of important texts, yeah, important outputs of large language models. Yeah, we cannot 100% trust that. So there should always be a human check. Maybe in the future, maybe the right points where this can be automated. And what I also said yesterday to a question that was not publicly made, I guess, if we have judges, yeah, if we have an automated judge for parking, for instance, etc. Yeah. By the way, parking will be a very good thing for autonomous cars. One of the best things for autonomous cars is parking, because I can say to the car, "Go find your parking, go parking, please," and you go, and then you call the car and say, "Now I'm ready. Yeah, come and pick me up again from where I am." So that's one of the fantastic things that will happen, definitely. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. But
Car led to Iceland.
yeah. So, yeah. So what we need is the following. Here we need really one more instance. Yeah, and one more instance where we can complain to if we are not happy. Yeah. So we can one more human instance. So how can you save a lot of human labor with this? Yeah. So you have the first instance is always, yeah, the automated, the computer, or not always, but most could be, yeah, you can get a ticket automatically because you're doing something, you're parking wrongly, okay, you get a ticket for a parking violation, and then you're unhappy. If you're unhappy with the ticket, you can go to the next instance. You will pay a little bit more if you lose, okay? So you can decide, a little bit, not too much, okay? So this will already probably serve for 60 or 65% of all the tickets. They will remain automated. They will never a human will see this ticket. Yeah? So this, but for the others have a possibility. Yeah. Then only then the normal human thing would start. Okay, so you place the electronic or computerized or AI level below the lowest level of the humans. Yeah, and only then it will be the normal human instance play will start. So you have a first instance, then you can complain, and you can reject this, and then you get to the next instance. So you have a zeros. Basically, the AI instance will be the instance number 0. Now we have 1, 2, 3, yeah, up to the constitutional court, yeah, and now we have 0, 1, 2, 3, and 0 will be the electronic one. So you don't, yeah, and this will, many people will be happy or will say, okay, I pay it. Yeah, then they pay it. If they are unhappy, they can go to the next instance. And yeah, that's my solution to this.
So I'm always looking if someone has a question, but you see them better.
Yeah,
I see the lamp here.
Any more questions? So now I want to come to LLMs, to large language models, because I really like large language models. I think this is really almost shocking what they can do. Yeah, because I personally think that large language models show that our human intelligence must work this way, basically, because they can answer questions so well, even though they are not perfect at all. Yeah, but they can answer questions really well, okay? And they can write nice texts. So even the people who invented them were really astonished to see how well this works. And it seems that something has been discovered. I mean, of course, we knew that our language processing works with works with neurons, but now it works very closely. It must work very closely to the technology of LLMs. Okay, but it's something is missing. What is missing is a check of the output. Okay, so what I propose, so as I said yesterday, large language models, for some of you were present yesterday, not all. Large language models are very, very good for generating text, nicely written text, super nicely written text, but they are not very good for precise data. And that's a problem, because we need precise data in our life. And they make horrendous errors, yeah, really terrible errors with data. They make also errors with problem solving, so that's the next level. But let's just stick to the level of data. I would already be very happy if large language models could get you to good data. Yeah, so you ask a precise question. So if I currently ask for my own publications, always some publications will be wrong. Yeah, if I ask a large language model, because it has lost information, etc. So this could be improved. I'm repeating a few things that I said yesterday. This could be improved if we could theoretically be improved if we add to a large language model a direct access to the web. Yeah, so if we shovel web data into it, yeah, so we make a web search. If I give a prompt to the system, the prompt will first be searched by the web. I will get the 10 or 100 most relevant web pages, okay, into the context of this system, and then I have precise data. But the problem of this is if I do this, I get a lot of bad data too from the web, because the web contains a lot of bad data and biased data and bad, wrong data, as we have shown. Yeah, there are many wrong examples where you can see wrong data from the web. So this is not the total solution. What we do generally, if we get some information, we have a filter. It seems to be in the frontal cortex. Yeah. So, and this filter filters everything that we want to immediately say is filtered by this filter. And actually, one other similarity to the between neural networks, between LLMs and human thinking is we have a continuous flow, yeah, a line of words that come out of our mouths. Yeah, they have to be, because I cannot say two sentences at the same time. So we are forced to say one sentence, and our brain produces a flow of words, a continuous flow and an ordered flow. Okay, and most likely it says what is most likely. Yeah, what I think to be most likely. But we also have something that stops us at some point, yeah, very quickly. And this is also not necessarily conscient reasoning. It's some kind of form, must be some form of inconscient reasoning, yeah, unconscient or inconscient reasoning, yeah, that stops us from uttering everything that we just comes into this. Just this flow is analyzed, and there's a control system, and it stops sometimes something, and then we say the next likely thing. Yeah? Or sometimes we say something completely different, but that's normally when we do a bigger, a really conscious reasoning task. Yeah. So conscientiousness is very important, but what we need. So what would we need to make a computer? So let me give you an example. I see my neural network of the right brain. I see a person that looks like my sister, and I say, this is my sister, yeah? And I want to say, this is my sister, but then I notice, either consciously or not unconsciously, my sister flew to the States yesterday, so that cannot be her. And then I block it and say, oh, that's somebody who looks like my sister, okay? I correct myself and say, somebody who looks like my sister, yeah? That happens every day. We make very small corrections. This is not there, yeah? This is not present in LLMs currently, and what I think is that symbolic AI could help with it, yeah, could help with it. But now the great thing for the future is that I believe, yeah, it's just a belief, it's not a scientific whatever finding. I believe that actually large language models can help symbolic AI very much, because we can extract rules, we can extract facts, we can take a large language model and make it work against itself in a certain sense. Yeah, and say, yeah, just asking a question. If we ask something to the large language model, okay, we could ask, why isn't that true, what it says, and then it will try to find some reasons, and then we have already our material for doing logical reasoning on these things. Yeah, this is a reason, that's a reason, argumentation. Yeah, there are many techniques that we can use then for looking whether what the first answer was, whether that was right or not. So I think this is a great perspective for future work with large language models. We can extract logic effects from large language models, but we don't have to have some NLP or natural language processing, because the large language model can already do it. We can we can take what the large language model answers. It answers maybe a paragraph. And then we can ask the same large language model, extract form logic effects from this. Yeah, we teach the large language model to do it, and it does it. Yeah. So, for instance, if we ask about the age of somebody, yeah, it will ask, it will answer, this person is 50 years old. Yeah. okay, with the name, yeah, John Doe is 50 years old, yeah, and we can then, the large language model can be easily trained to answer John, age of John Doe, comma, 50, okay? And then we have a logical fact, yeah? And we don't even need, one difficulty in logical reasoning was also how to get these facts from the world. And I think we can use the large language model itself, and actually our left part of the brain is also neurons, yeah? So now we can use a neural network for reasoning, for extracting, yeah, and formalizing something that the neural network has first said. And then we have logical principles where probably we will use theorem provers and other things, yeah, so to make, yeah, people happy. But I think it, yeah, I believe it actually, that it's good to use theorem provers and additional knowledge in form of rules, yeah, to improve and test whether this is really true, and check it for inconsistencies, and when we have inconsistencies we can resolve them again by presenting them to the large language model, yeah, etc. So I think there can be an extremely fruitful dialogue between LLMs and symbolic reasoning in the future. Okay.
There's a question.
Yes, but I think here we need the microphone.
Yeah. I mean, how good is your voice?
I can try to.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
very interesting to this idea of it, also extracting the knowledge from, say, the world, and then using large language models to kind of reproduce this knowledge. So my question here is that so far this knowledge was abstracted from a world that, say, from the internet, which contains human-made data. So there's errors in there, inconsistencies, etc. But it's generally human-created. And now we get, of course, this interesting loop where the internet is being filled also with AI-generated and large language model-generated content. So at some point, the training of these large language models, based on, say, the data, is also then trained on its own data, so to say. So here you get this additional layer of perpetuating error, or so how does this reflect in?
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting point. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is called the decay of a language model, something decay. Yeah, it's and it has been already. I'm not sure if it's true, but some scientists, researchers have already reported this. That so in translation, yeah, a large language model is used as a translator. So there's automated translation, or machine learning. Let's say just machine learning because it's the same. It's not only for language. Machine learning or large language models are used very heavily for translations. Yeah. Now they make translation errors, but they publish these errors. These errors are published on the web, and then they learn and reinforce these errors, and then they perpetuate these errors. Yeah. So that's a very interesting fact. But I think we can fight this. Yeah. It's just has been observed recently that such a phenomena happen, but I think we have, because we can see what is new on the web, and yeah, so people haven't dealt with this so far, yeah, but I think we can try to avoid that. There will be techniques to avoid it. That's another interesting research issue, yeah, and I think it's not yet so strong, but it's you're completely right. I mean, especially if networks publish things, publish translations are published, people are uncritically publish translations, then these things happen. These things happen, and this is true with the European community. Every language, every text and law has to be translated into, I don't know, 27 or 40, I don't know, languages, yeah, and they heavily use large language models. And so they publish this, and they publish these errors, and then the same language model reads this, yeah, and learns again when it is retrained, yeah, and that's, yeah, reinforces these errors. Please.
I just wonder, because, I mean, so far it seems that people have used this web data, internet data, to build up their networks or feed their networks and calculate all these probabilities. And from what you say, I wonder if, so to say, we wouldn't now need kind of a different strategy which tries to filter out logical data from all
kind of build up data structures that contain more logical relations between all this information that we kind
So
of...
that's what you say is would be called a knowledge graph, no? A huge knowledge graph.
Not
Yeah.
from this area, but
Yeah.
I mean, when you say, okay, the neural presentation seems to be at a limit, then and on the other hand, you argue that having symbolic representations would be helpful to combine those two kinds of information.
Yes.
Then it looks to me as well, how do we get more symbolic information?
Yes. So what you say is completely right. I mean, people do these knowledge graphs. So, but so far they have done it not from the entire internet. They have constructed these knowledge graphs from Wikipedia, for instance. In Wikipedia you have, so now there's Wikidata. One of these knowledge graphs is called Wikidata. There are 2 or 3 such huge knowledge graphs that put everything in relation from Wikipedia. Okay, but there's the other possibility that you do it ad hoc. Ad hoc. If you extract some knowledge, you transform something in an answer, and then you ask the neural net, you ask the LLM, and it will give you another answer, and you can again do it, and then you can discover a contradiction, and then you can say what kind of rule is there, and you extract the rule. So maybe you don't even need these huge knowledge graphs. That's what I think personally, that you can do it on the fly and ad hoc. You have mechanisms for doing it, which would also be, in a certain sense, better, because it's then not, the knowledge graph is again something that probably is not cast in stone, but it is very rigid. These knowledge graphs are rigid, and there's a release, and then after a year there's another release of the knowledge graph. Now one can also update it continually, but then you have to be very careful with these updates. So one idea is effectively these knowledge graphs already exist, but the other idea would be we do it ad hoc with some mechanism that only extract the currently relevant information, formalize it, and then do the formal reasoning in a different way, that the network cannot do this reasoning, and then put it back and present it back to the net. But both ideas could work. I mean, I can also imagine to work with large knowledge graph. The problem is, what you are now saying is a factual knowledge graph, probably, but we also need rules. We don't need only fact. So it's easy to generate a factual knowledge graph where you have only factual knowledge, and you could have fuzzy values attached to it. You can say the age of this guy is 53, but on some web pages it's 54, according to some other web pages, so 53 with 0.9 fuzzy value. So this is a huge knowledge graph, but it's probably even better to do that on the fly. You just look, and I don't know. So maybe this factual knowledge graph is okay, but then you would have you also need a rule base. Then it's maybe better to do this ad hoc in a certain sense. To say what does follow. Is it true that this implies this or so? And then why? Because already the factual knowledge graph is huge. The rule base will also be huge, and rules are always more critical than facts. Facts can be. We can always have a formalism. Like the feasible logic where facts, we can work with wrong facts also, or with fuzzy logic. But if we may also have some rules, but we don't even know. It's very difficult to get all rules that are valid. It's easier to get all facts that are valid than all rules that are valid for some reason. Because rules have put facts into many more relationships, relations. We have what a rule is: if this and that and not that and this. It's combinatorial already more complicated. But so I'm not sure. But I think it's an interesting question that you raised.
Is there any more questions? I have to be the bad person here because we have 15 minutes left. So if someone is saving the question, then you should probably hurry up. But I wanted to ask you, just one thing. You know this arena? Don't. Yeah.
Closer.
Do you know this LLM arena where maybe you know it? I looked it up because I always forget links. But it's basically you put in your prompt and then you have 2 LLMs competing to each other since there's so much funding, and then you're like, which one is the better one? So they rely again on people to categorize, is Gemini better than Llama or whatsoever? And I thought that interesting because it's like a Turing test but reversed. or to quote Terry Pratchett here, a real human stability will beat artificial intelligence always. So I'm sticking to that. But you had a question, good sir. You?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would be very curious to hear your views on explainability and transparency, because there's like sub-symbolic approaches, symbolic approaches, and symbolic approaches are known to be more transparent because you explicitly formulate things. Now when this AI starts to make decisions that influence our personal lives, what would be the role of, for instance, having the right of an explanation, or having a right to know why a decision was made in a certain way?
Yes.
What's this balance?
I used that when I called that credit rating agency. I said, "What? Give me an explanation." And they couldn't really say exactly, but they say it must be about where you live. Okay, so that's, and I was happy because then I understood what it was. Actually, I was grateful because it's a great example that I could present now in all talks. but and I got it, but they didn't change They didn't change my credit rating. Yeah, that's also, because it's too complicated. Yeah. But that didn't matter. Yeah? I went into something very interesting and finally understood what it means that the spirit of a person is still in a house, attached to a house. Yeah, but explanation is something extremely important and extremely interesting. Yeah. So in symbolic reasoning we have several ways, as you already hinted at, of explanations, and. So there's an entire theory about what is called diagnosis and explanations. Diagnosis. Yeah, how can you diagnose a failure? That's also, how can you explain a failure? This is also very important, because if you know that a big machine fails, you want to know where and why it fails, what could be responsible, and maybe you can generate 2 alternative answers. So there's an entire field in computer science, in AI actually, a subfield of symbolic AI that looks at model-based diagnosis, it's called. Yeah, and they basically build a model of a machine, and then the machine doesn't work, and then we are looking at what could be responsible for this, and given that the AI understands the model and understands the reason, by reasoning one can eliminate so many things, and then can go to the essentials. Yeah, and another more. So this is also related to a mathematical approach to say what are explanations. This is called abduction. Abduction is something that we do every day also. It's also a formalization of something that we do all the time. Yeah, all the time. Abduction means what are possible reasons that imply what I'm observing right now. Okay? And I have a theory also. I have a theory that links things, okay? A general theory. Okay, then I have a lot of facts, and I have some observations, and I want to know which facts imply what I'm observing right now. Okay, and that's there are great techniques that have been developed. They are used in certain types of medical reasoning, for instance. They use abduction. Yeah, and what I believe is also, LLMs can give you good explanations, so they can explain why they say something, and that's already very good. So in our system we build a system for constructing a database, for LLMs, where we question each fact, each data item is questioned. Yeah. So instead of having one prompt, that says find this data item, once it's found, it will be questioned. So why, or even before it is found, we will divide the problem into several sub-problems. Yeah. So if for example, what I explained yesterday, if we want to find a competitor or several competitors to a company, we will first ask, the LLM asks, what are competitors? How to find a competitor, and what are the characteristics of a competitor to a company A? If B is a competitor to A, what are the characteristics? What must be true? And then the system will say, for instance, the LLM says by itself, where the competitor must have a similar product that is replaceable in a certain sense. Yeah, then what does replaceability mean could be the next question. Yeah, so we can go, we can recursively down a tree, up to a certain level with these questions. Then a competitor must operate in the same area, sell their products, for instance, or services in the same area, because if they don't sell it in the same area, they're not generally not competitors, and they must have similar customers, for instance. Okay, so these are three criteria that competitors must fulfill, those three main criteria, and then we analyze. The system automatically analyzes whether all these criteria are satisfied or not. Okay, and then you get a very, very much better response than if you just ask, give me competitors. So you make the system reason, and automatically you will also get some explanation, because then the system can say, oh, I believe with 0.9, yeah, likelihood 0.9, yeah, that these products are that these companies have these two products, and with 0.9 probability likelihood they are replaceable, from because they also check what means does replaceable mean, etc. They come up that the system comes up with a fuzzy value, let's say, okay, yeah, and then it says, and they operate in these two countries, and yeah, they have similar customers. For example, they have joint customers, etc. Yeah, so this is an explanation. Yeah? So if you can always ask the LLM to produce also explanations, and you can actually modify a prompt so that it already, the system has to recognize which are the criteria according to which this question is answered, and then this criteria, for each criterion you answer why is this criterion satisfied, and then you get an explanation. So I think LLMs are really good for explanations. Yeah.
If I may, coming back to your first trail of thought in this part of your very interesting talk, where you stated that LLMs are comparable, might even represent human thinking. Did I get?
No. I think they're very similar. The mechanism is similar. Nobody knows how. No neuroscientist really knows how we think, but we think it's so similar that there must be something really astonishing, because
referring to this idea, if we take, as you mentioned, these cases where in the law case 5 additional cases were made up and then presented as true facts, does this phenomena, does this represent something similar to human thinking, to a trait of human thinking, to the longing of wanting to please? Wanting to please.
Yeah, that's a very good remark. That's unfortunate.
In addition, would produce the question, what category would pleasing be?
Yeah.
Because obviously,
Opportunistic AI.
Yes. Actually, it damages rather than pleasing. No, because it comes up with wrong cases. Yeah.
But it pleases the longing for an answer.
Yeah. So that's definitely what people think, that either there's already something. Yeah, the LLM always wants to satisfy the person who prompts. Yeah, the prompter. Yeah, they always want to satisfy this person. Yeah, and this is, I don't know where this comes from. Maybe this comes from the fact that people who, when they were pleased, they said yes, yeah, while doing a training, and when they were not pleased, they said no. And so this element of being pleased is implicitly embedded into the system. Yeah, that's what I guess. Yeah, I don't think that there is that Altman programmed here and said you have to please the person. Yeah, and here is a category. What does pleasing mean? So I think that by the training, automatically, that's another kind of training bias. Yeah, that the people who train the system, if they are pleased by the answer, they say good, and if they are not pleased, they say no, and they don't always. Yeah, they are human beings. Yeah, so in this, they don't always look at it, something from a completely objective point of view, whether the answer is true or not. Yeah, and so I guess that maybe 5% or 10% of this is pleasing. Yeah, that remains in the system afterwards. Yeah, so that the necessity to say something. Yeah, and why does a system invent? Yeah, here this is something very different. Also, what I explained. So the system, LLMs are a compression, so they lose the connection between things. So they store entities Yeah, like entities can be an entire phrase or can be a title of a publication, for instance. Yeah, could be an entity, yeah, which is a compound entity, but this entity is usually still stored, but the connection and authors, people are entities that are stored somewhere, yeah, and then the connection between all entities, the connection between entities is lost sometimes, yeah, and so that's why when I'm asked, as I already said, for my publications, several publications will be wrong and invented, but they are not really invented. They are mixed up because the system loses information. It's a compression. The entire web, which is much bigger than a neural network, is compressed to a small neural network, and therefore necessarily we lose some information. And the type of how the information is lost is it loses links between entities, and sometimes if they have compound entities, it even breaks up these compound entities into smaller entities, okay? And loses the link between them. And so what happens then if I ask for my papers? It looks at papers that are connected to still enough things to which I am connected and says, I'm the author of this paper because it contains enough keywords and is connected to other things. Yeah, and then it says that some paper that very close colleagues of mine have published, that I'm the author of this paper. Or just because I could be the author, it was reconstructed this way. And that's how entire cases are constructed, and which are not non-existent. But it's not because the system wants it wants to say something, and it knows that if it cannot find something, it doesn't mean that this doesn't exist. The answer, that's a problem. Yeah, that if the system knew here an answer does not exist, and I will come. If the system knew an answer does not exist, there is no case. Yeah, but the system cannot know it because anyway, most of the things it does, it has to reconstruct them, and from 100% of the things that it reconstructs, 80% are correctly reconstructed, but 20% are wrongly reconstructed. But now, if there is really no case, then it will invent some case. Okay.
Thank you. If you're in a
There's another question.
Yeah, if you're in a dialogue, time flies.
Yeah.
So it's the last question. I mean, he will stay here, hopefully. I mean, you can always catch it. The official part will be over. But also then, like, what you'd love the audience to take away with. Maybe what your actual research are. What's your intriguing field? But please, for the end, but please post where was the question?
Yes.
Ah, there.
Please.
Sorry.
Sorry. You use the word the system wants something. What is that categorically safe to say that the system itself wants?
Well, I would say, of course, it appears to us that the system wants, but I would say, yes, the system wants to give an answer. The system is programmed to give an answer. Yeah. And now the problem with the system is that sometimes the answer should be, I don't know. Okay. But given that the system is such a compression, yeah, the neural network is such a compression, yeah, and generally, I mean, for many questions, it doesn't have an answer ready, and it has to and if there existed an answer, this answer would be able to construct this probably easily. Yeah, this answer. If there's a simple question, yeah, it could construct this with high probability. Okay. So it tries to construct something, even if there's no answer. That's what I said. So it's programmed to give an answer. Okay, and we as a human, we would say, I don't know. Yeah, but for us, we don't compress things. I mean, we also compress things, but probably not as strongly as the LLM compresses things. Yeah, or in a certain sense, we still can. We have something that lets us recognize if we put things together that were broken up during where the information about the link was missed. Yeah. If we put it together, we have some mechanism that an LLM doesn't have, where we can say, oh, I've seen this already once, so that's the right answer. Yeah? And the LLM just puts things together that they think are likely, but then this mechanism is missing. Okay, that's what I think. But the LLM is programmed to give an answer, and we cannot blame the LLM so much, yeah, for the moment. Yeah, then it doesn't know where that answer is. For us, we have a mechanism called introspection, yeah, that the LLM doesn't have completely now, yeah, which could probably be added in the future. Introspection is something very interesting, so we can observe our own reasoning. Yeah, the LLM has it partly, but not enough for knowing that it doesn't know anything. Yeah, okay, or that it doesn't know the answer. And with introspection, we also ask about ourselves. Yeah, we ask, did I ever get this information from somebody? Yeah, if you ask me a chemical thing, yeah, I'm forgot. A, I had very little chemistry. B, in school. B, if you ask me something that I know we never had at school, yeah, I have the introspection to know this. Maybe I watched a TV series, but I know that this TV series has vanished in my brain, okay? Where somebody has explained some chemical construction, process, okay? But I don't have it, and I know that I don't have it. I know that I cannot produce this right now, yeah? Even though, yeah, I know that we forget a lot, and so this part of introspection is missing. So that's maybe an important point, yeah, that the LLM needs to better know what it knows and what it doesn't know. And I guess we can train the LLM to reason about its own knowledge better than it does currently. Yeah, so by additional mechanisms of prompt, maybe even by prompting, yeah. But we have a better memory of what we know, yeah. Well, our life, we know what people inputted to us, more or less, yeah, where we learned something, school, university. If somebody asked me a question that is out of range for me, yeah, I know it, and the LLM would still not know it and try to answer something. But I think that's a problem, yeah. Good.
Yeah, it's two questions. I have to end with two questions, right? So one is like the takeaway you would like give to the audience, but also combined with what's your field of interest right now? I mean, are you like, hey, you should all go into LLMs right now, that's the future, or is the world of AI still bigger, though this right now is like the cool kid in AI town?
So the takeaway for me, for you, from me for you, is, for me also, is logic and reasoning is not dead. Yeah, it's only slower, it's more difficult, but it will help, and it already helps, yeah, to improve LLMs. And I see a bright future in combining these two things, reasoning and theorem proving, but also other forms of reasoning. And nothing was lost. A lot of people have built something. It's not that they have built bullshit, but they have built interesting things, and eventually they will shape up and will be used together with the LLM. Regarding the LLMs, there is really a huge opportunity now for analyzing them, for making them, yeah, for playing with them and understanding how to improve them. And that's what I'm trying to do now. But I'm coming partly from the database world, yeah, database and AI world. So that's why we had the DBAI sub-institute working group at our department, the DBAI, databases in AI. And I'm trying to create a system that can build and enrich a database only using LLMs. So what many databases are built by crowdsourcing, for instance, and I call that crowd data sourcing. Yeah, and we are building a system that can do crowd data sourcing, that can replace the crowd. But we are currently unsatisfied with the current state, but we have shown that we can already improve the correctness of what we find, the answers that we find. Yeah, but simple prompts are not enough. And so we are experimenting with this, and it's a really great thing that we can do that. And we need more logical reasoning. That's what we also want to do, more reasoning and getting better and better data out of LLMs. And I think it's an interesting thing, but there are so many other interesting things to do with LLMs. And we are just at the beginning of a new area here, yeah? A new era here, okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you
all for
Thank you for your
being
attention.
here.